3 things every narcissistic abuse survivor gets wrong about the trauma bond. That's what we're talking about in this video. Hi, I'm Dr. Melissa. I'm a trauma expert, top doctor, leadership catalyst for narcissistic abuse survivors, and CEO of Sustainably You, where we help soul-driven leaders like you transcend your past experience of abuse to create greater impact and fulfillment as you change the world. Today we're talking about 3 things almost every narcissistic abuse survivor gets wrong about the trauma bond. And I want to say right off the bat, don't feel badly because I got them wrong in the beginning too. So years ago, I was in a really good place after I left the narcissistic relationship. I had completed therapy, I had found myself again, until I realized I was a narcissist super magnet. Here I was living my best life, not even looking for a relationship, but they kept finding me. And this wasn't just potential romantic partners. Some were reaching out wanting business partnerships or collaborations. Others I hired for business support, finding that they always overpromised and underdelivered. In the best cases, I identified the red flags quickly and ended those relationships. It was a great opportunity to practice boundary setting. But after a while, that wasn't enough to offset the amount of precious time and mental bandwidth that I lost every time I had to end one of those relationships. And in the worst scenarios, I lost time and money, a lot of time and money. At the time, I had a really limited understanding of the trauma bond. I have to admit, it sounded totally like something that was like for suckers, for someone who is weak. I didn't necessarily believe that I could be trauma bonded to anyone. I didn't feel weak. I felt like I was thriving. I was finding ways to move my life forward. But those efforts were held back by this constant flow of new and old narcissists and their drama. My lack of understanding cost me dearly, which is why I'm breaking down these 3 super common misconceptions so that they don't cost you too. Myth number 1, once you're over your ex, your trauma bond is broken. Wouldn't it be nice if it worked that way? The visible part of a trauma bond prevents you from seeing that the relationship is abusive. It leads you to stay even once you do see that the relationship is abusive, and it makes you want to go back to that relationship even after it's ended. The trouble is the trauma bond goes a whole lot deeper than that. And the reason why is because the trauma bond is forged or strengthened through repetitive abuse and intermittent reinforcement. During the relationship, your brain became accustomed to the chemical rush, the chemical hit from intermittent reinforcement. And even after you've left that relationship and you are over that ex, your brain is still looking for that next chemical hit. Your need for validation for that chemical hit is visible to the narcissist. They read exactly how to love bomb you. And the sad reality is that you will always continue to attract new narcissists and old narcissist drama until you consciously break that trauma bond, which does not happen with time alone. Okay, the second myth is that you have to break the trauma bond so that you can leave. Now, because I'm known as a narcissistic abuse recovery specialist with decades of experience and 100% success rate for people who implement our process, we get a lot of people reaching out for help breaking their trauma bond so that they can leave. And unfortunately, it just doesn't work this way. A therapist, work with a good therapist, can help you see the trauma bond clearly, which will make it easier for you to leave. But that trauma bond cannot be broken until after you've left the relationship. after you're no longer living together. Why? Because that trauma bond is strengthened with repetitive abuse and intermittent reinforcement. And as long as you are in a relationship with or living with your abuser, as long as you are still experiencing the repetitive abuse, no matter how small a devaluation may seem, or how unimportant an intermittent reinforcement may seem, as long as you are in that relationship, as long as you are living with your abuser, your trauma bond is being strengthened. There's no amount of boundary setting within a relationship that can change that. Okay, and the third myth about the trauma bond is that it can't be broken. This thought is perpetuated by lots of survivors, specifically those who haven't broken their trauma bond, so they assume that it's impossible. And the reality is most probably don't remember a time pre-trauma bond, so this seems like a logical conclusion. The reality is that most narcissistic abuse survivors have trauma bonds with multiple narcissists. Your recent romantic relationship with a narcissist was a result of trauma bonds from your past, likely from your childhood, with a parent, a grandparent, a caregiver, a childhood friend. Fortunately, these bonds can be broken. And the best part is they don't have to be broken one at a time. It's not like serving consecutive life sentences, right? You can do them all concurrently with the process that I teach people to use every day. A process that breaks them all without reliving and rehashing the past. No tears required, but tears are always welcome. You are worthy of an amazing life free of narcissistic abuse. If you're still in the relationship, ending the abuse is your next step. If you've already left the relationship and you want to put your past behind you, you want to break your trauma bond, you want to rewrite your subconscious patterns, I'm happy to show you the way. Comment "I'm ready" and let's have a conversation. We'll see you in the next video.